Okay, today I am talking about those of us who are raised in noise and not harmony, where we learned how to survive in households where silence was actually tension and not peace, where love came with strings or conditions, where our emotions were edited to fit somebody else's idea of what they should have been. And in all of that noise, our nervous system, our bodies actually remember that. They remember what it feels like. But the beautiful thing is, our nervous system also remembers our original song, coming home to ourselves. It's a soft rhythm, it's a natural coherence, it's a time when our breath moved with our body. And we haven't lost that harmony inside of us. We've just been operating out of chaos. So today we are going to begin to shift and begin to remember what our own song sounds like, what true harmony is. Hey there, beautiful souls, and welcome back to another Mindful Monday. That's right, I am your host, your girl, Arika Trimnell, where I am here to bring you some fresh perspectives and some new insight. We are going to stop this performance of healing, this very performative healing, and we are going to actually start living, where we are moving from surviving to actually thriving. And so if that sounds like you, tap into me, tune in, like, share, subscribe, do all of the things that you do to engage. So that's right, I'm Arika Trimnell, the Mindful Mistress here. Again, we want to offer some deep insights that help us grow spiritually, professionally, and embrace every single journey of our life, of our life's path. It's really about shattering that prism of limitations. Those of us who have been on the channel, who have watched my videos, know that we live our lives through a prism of limitations. And, not to any fault of our own, it's our society condition, it's our household, our cultural conditioning, all of that creates the prism in which we view life, but not only view life, but it shapes our narratives, it shapes our patterns, our habits, et cetera, et cetera. You get the deal, right? So here at Prism Vibes, we're doing something a little bit new, and we're shifting into this new dimension of healing where the goal isn't just about that recovery and release phase. It's really about the resonance, understanding the frequency that you are, understanding that everything is energy, and how do you move through life, not resisting it, but incorporating it and its lessons and teachings. So today, we are going to dive into vibrational harmony. So, this is not about being perfect or not about perfection, but really understanding that we all have a sacred frequency that remembers who we truly are. So, in today's conversation about harmony, we're going to learn that it's not a Pinterest looking perfect thing. It's not spiritual bypassing, but it's a really deep resonance. It's our own nervous system, that level of harmony, that level of sync where you are actually in alignment with, people would say with your higher self or your God, or depending on your belief system, what you actually believe. So this is where we're actually able to come home to ourselves. And with that being said, I am here. I am home. So today in our episode, we are going to explore what harmony actually is for those of us who don't know. We're going to explore why most of us are raised in actual noise and chaos and we're out of tune. I'm going to share some personal insights or a story of what it's like to remember your harmony. Then we're going to talk about the discernment. How do you discern what's your actual harmony versus your trauma, or what is your harmony versus the chaos you're used to? And of course, I got to leave you with some tips and tricks so you can help navigate back home. So you know what home feels like. And the more we're able to navigate back home, the better we are able to maneuver through this life. Well, that's the goal, right? So let me just start with some hard truths here. Most of us, and I might be going out on a ledge, and if this doesn't apply to you, then that's fine, but most of us were raised in chaotic dissonance. And so what I mean by that, let me make it plain and make it simple. Most of us were not taught harmony. what we were actually taught is exactly how to fit in and how to keep it together, right? Don't ever let anybody see you sweat. If you heard that, don't, don't show your emotions, especially if you're at work. Maybe so what this might have looked like modeled to you in your home was where you were walking on eggshells, or maybe your feelings were just too loud, or the silence was just misunderstood. Maybe when it was talking about keeping the peace, this was keeping the peace for everybody else, but yourself. Inside, you felt broken. Inside, you felt the swirl of emotions, but you were placating and keeping the peace because you didn't want that environment to be chaotic. Part of that, if we think about it from the psychology standpoint, that's the parentification of a child. If that happened to you in the home where you had to navigate everybody's emotions and feelings. So what happens is that over time, our nervous system, the beautiful thing that it is, it starts mistaking this tension as a normal state of being, a normal way of being. Now, when we think about this, there are hormones that get released when this happens. So if it's a high stressful situation, you've got that cortisol release. So we actually start to become addicted to the high level of cortisol that gets released in our body when we have these chaotic or traumatic moments. So of course, we're going to then start seeking this out. This isn't a flaw. This actually means that we are brilliant by design because it's a survival system. It's a survival mechanism. Your nervous system has adapted to survive, to protect you by any means necessary at all costs. So this isn't wrong. This is actually a very wise thing that our bodies are able to do. But now we are not here to just survive. We are here to thrive, right? You're here to uncover who you truly are if that's where you are in your journey. You're here to uncover parts of yourself so you can show up fuller in relationships and let go some of the past hurt and trauma. We are here to actually resonate with one another. And to get to this, you have to understand what harmony is and understand what it's not, and how your life experiences have shaped who you are. And maybe your understanding of what harmony is a little bit different. So, if I can be completely vulnerable and transparent with you, this episode today came to me. I was at a festival yesterday and I attended a session where a lady was talking about when we have traumatic experiences, there is a part of us that disassociates, like our spirit leaves our body. And once that happens, sometimes the spirit is not fully in the body. It might continue to leave the body depending on the situation and circumstances. And so she taught a practice about how to invite the spirit back in and say that, hey, this body is safe despite what it has been through. And so that's what inspired today's episode. And I was thinking about harmony and wanted to expand on that because I'm not sure that everybody understands life through that lens, right? When we talk about frequency and resonance and energy and all of the things. So wanted to talk about harmony based on the workshop that I did yesterday. It was a phenomenal workshop. And that just like sparked this like, hey, let's dig into this a little bit further. And let's talk about different aspects of harmony, what it is, how it could seem like it's masked, or maybe we don't have our harmony or know what our harmony is. So to go a little bit deeper, if you have watched, I don't know, more than 2 episodes, I'm likely talking about trauma only because I come from the belief system that majority of us, 80-90% of us, have had at least one traumatic experience in our lives. Now, just because you've been through trauma does not mean the long-term negative impacts will be your outcome, whether that's from a health perspective, a mental health perspective, a social economic perspective, an education perspective. Like all those things are impacted by trauma. But just because you've had trauma doesn't mean that you are doomed or you're tied to those particular outcomes. However, when we're talking about frequency and resonance, the path that we're on now, trauma doesn't just leave a memory. And I hate even to even say memory, because most of the time traumatic events, there is no memory like we think of, like what we had for breakfast this morning. The memory is more of an impact. It can be a scattered sensation, if you will. And because of that, I really like to think of trauma as the ability to change your frequency. So trauma impacts your harmony in the sense that, really, in these three ways. In the sense that, it rewires your nervous system. So you can get stuck in that fight, flight, freeze, fawn response system. So this is where your body becomes the alarm, and sometimes that alarm does not go off. So you're constantly bracing for an impact. You're not in a place and space where you're able to just flow. And this creates a constant energetic static. We've talked about this before when we talk about, vibrational awareness and vibrational intelligence. It creates that like background static all of the time. And if you're like me and you're sensitive to sound, that static can really drive you crazy. The other thing that, trauma does in this case is it fragments your inner world. So what I mean by fragmenting your inner world, like, you smile when you are actually hurting. You say yes when your body is actually screaming no. And over time, you stop trusting your own resonance. You stop trusting your own intuition, your own inner wisdom, if you will. So it does all of that. And then lastly, it distorts your own sense of peace. So again, not understanding where your baseline is, not understanding where your home is. So if you grew up in a space or environment where chaos was normal, stillness feels like that threat. Real harmony might feel fake to you. It might feel disingenuous because you're so used to that chaotic environment or lifestyle. So on an unconscious level, you're seeking that noise. You're constantly sabotaging your calm or your peace. But, I say all of this to say that there's still hope. It doesn't mean that, again, there's that doom and gloom outcome that comes with trauma, or what we associate trauma to be. Your nervous system remembers your original state. You can recalibrate yourself. You can retune. You can adjust. You can align. And vibrational healing methods help you come back to your own center, to your home. And that happens gently over time. Now, it can happen in big swings with some vibrational therapies, like some plant medicines can take you from, being in this very dysregulated state to a harmonious state. But the caveat to that is that integration that happens afterwards. And if you don't have a guide or a coach or whatever with you, that integration can be really, really challenging, and sometimes can knock people way back into that traumatic state as well. So, let's be super clear. When we talk about harmony, harmony is not perfection by any means. It's coherence. It's not a perfect routine or a constant smile, the fake smile. It's when your body, your mind, and your spirit are in the same place, are the same page, or the same frequency. It's that alignment. It can seem messy in the moment, if we're completely honest. When I talk about embracing every aspect of one's journey, there are highs and there are lows, but just because you have a high doesn't mean that things are great, and just because you have a low doesn't mean that things are bad either. They're both meant to be treated the same. They both have nuggets of inspiration and messages to give you. So when your mind, your body, and your emotions and energy all begin vibrating in that same frequency, they are not fighting against one another. They are not creating that dissonance. You're not having that static. And the beautiful thing, because if you know me, you know that I like, if you know, right? I love to bring the science aspect into this. And so research shows that the coherent research shows, I can't speak right now, shows that when you are breathing, and when you're breathing and your emotions are synced up, and your heart variability rate improves. Try saying that 3 times. So when your breathing is synced with your energy, your heart variability rate improves. So what that means is that you are starting to regulate, you are regulating, you've regulated your nervous system. So that helps improve your stress. That improves your quality of sleep. That improves your overall immunity. Now, from the spiritual traditions, they teach that your body is a symphony. Your chakras, your meridians, all of those are all vibrating, subtle energy bodies. And when there's a blockage or something feels off, when you're not in flow, we have a hard time remembering who we are. We have a hard time connecting to our own natural frequency. And harmony is the ability to come home to yourself, to that own song. So it's not an external state, it is your natural frequency. So again, it's nothing to look outside of yourself for. If you don't remember anything, remember that harmony is something that you go in to find, not outside. So hopefully that that is helpful in helping you understand and frame what harmony what harmony is, how trauma impacts that. And to share a quick story that maybe will just make this hit home is I had a client, we'll call her, Maya. And Maya was running this large wellness business and was wildly successful, but Maya was always on. And in her inner world, she still had the shallow breath, the tight jaw, and she was always performing peace over truly feeling it. So during one of our sessions, I had asked her to really just place her hands on her heart and her belly and hum. And the beautiful thing about that is, that is that coherence. So we had practiced this, gosh, I want to say maybe it was like a month or two ago. I had done a video about heart coherence and having creating that to work with your heart variability, and that's an indicator of whether or not you are regulated or triggered in the moment. So that's something that you can leverage yourself. So when I asked her to do this, she kind of felt a little awkward or strange, and I asked her to hum, and you're like, well, we probably haven't hummed since I was a kid. Humming is such a beautiful way to regulate your nervous system. She actually laughed, and it was a beautiful moment. It was a childlike moment, and in that like instant, you could tell that she went from a dysregulated state to a regulated state just from the thought of performing the act before she even got to the act, because she's like, I don't even know if I know how to hum. What is that like? I haven't done that since I was a kid. And it went from this beautiful childlike laugh and giggle trying to figure out what it was to it went to tears. And you might be thinking like, oh, okay, well, what happened? Think about this. This is a person who is in the wellness industry, who is teaching others how to heal themselves, who is doing all of the things, who is, great at performing, great at what she does, having helped people have these wildly transformative experiences. And something as simple as remembering her own voice, she couldn't. And so the emotion behind that was the tears, the release that she needed to have to realize that she had forgotten her own voice because she was so used to performing to other people's expectations and holding space for everyone but herself. So something that was so small of an ask, so small of an exercise, and such a gentle, soothing thing was actually something that had triggered this breakthrough from her. And the simple act of humming and realizing that I don't even really have a connection to my own voice, and what is that? That was the catalyst for Maya to return back home. Now, doing the actual exercise is also a catalyst for us to return back to our home. One breath, one vibration, one moment of harmony at a time is what it takes. I'm not asking, and I don't ask when I know we have been in a world, society, culture, you fill the blanks however you like, where we have been constantly taught, and social media sends all of these messages about how to escape ourselves, right? How to continuously be part of the noise and the cycle that keeps all this going. So, one breath, one vibration, one harmony at a time is how you start to get back home. Now, the hard part about that, maybe, and for some of you guys who didn't pick that up in the story I told about Maya, is that discernment piece. What is home if home feels fake to you because you've lived a life that, or maybe you even grew up in a chaotic or traumatic environment? What does home and what does harmony actually feel like? The truth is, and this is really like reiterating what I said before, the truth is that not everything that feels calm is harmony or harmonious. And the same thing, not everything that is harmonious is going to feel easy, is going to feel good to you, is going to feel comforting. Harmony is not always a comfort, a warm place to come home to, if you will. I know that was like terrible. Harmony can be saying no to something that might look right on the outside, but it isn't in alignment. Harmony could be like walking away from good vibes that feel off. This good vibes could be a ceremony that you don't want to attend. It could be a festival that you don't want to attend. It could be a yoga class. It could be breath work. It could be a meditation. It could be a Reiki session. It could mean you're walking out of class because you feel off. And we all know that creates tension. If you've ever walked out of a yoga class, you know exactly what I mean, especially for those yoga teachers who are, let's say, very particular or dedicated to the practice. You're walking out, that could be seen as very disrespectful. But for you, that's coming home to yourself, trusting that your attention is actually assigned to actually dig deeper, and how you can discern what is real harmony from fake harmony. Things like feeling into your body. I've talked about this before, but just to reiterate it, our body is our library. Our body has every experience, memory stored inside of it. So ask the body, does this right here, does it soften me or does it constrict me? Do I feel expanded by this experience, or again, do I feel limited by this experience? Harmony often feels like a very deep exhale, subtle relief, or even tears of recognition. Beware, though, of that false sense of self or that false calm that sometimes stillness can feel like shut down, like damn. And sometimes it can feel like disconnection, like you're disconnecting yourself. And if something feels peaceful to you, it might be because you have gone numb. Again, if I think about our body's way of protecting ourselves, since it's always on high alert for those of us who, are still working through traumas and are still highly activated, your body can be numb. And so that's not harmony. That is actually disassociation. That's actually a dissonance in your body. So harmony is when your nervous system and your soul are both at that yes and in alignment, and that frequency is spot on. So this is how discernment can actually protect you and provide a pathway for you to come home to yourself. Now, let's get some tools, right? Let's put some tools in our tool belt, or let me at least plant these seeds of awareness of things that you can utilize to come back home. And when you are ready, when the time is right, your soul will say, hey, I remember that episode where Arika said we should do this. So I'm gonna give you 5 practices to help you retune your energy field and come back to yourself, like slow, gentle. So this should not overwhelm your system. But again, be mindful, tap into what it is feels right for you. We are tuning to things that make us feel whole. So of course I'm going to bring up first, and something super easy is humming. This is called self-tuning. Humming activates our vagus nerve, and our vagus nerve is what is that indicator of whether we should be in that fight, flight, freeze, fawn mode, like, right? Or should we be in the rest, digest period? So we can shift your body from activated into a restful healing state. So you can you can put your hands on your heart, your belly, exhaling for 30 seconds, and then taking a deep breath and then humming. Another thing that you can do is a linden flower ritual. So this is one of the many beautiful plant spirit allies for emotional softness and heart harmony. This can be brewed in a tea that you sit with, and you just sit with the warmth of it. And you do an awareness of the tea taste, how that feels, what that tea's like in your mouth. If you want, you can do like some chants with the tea afterwards. Now that the plant medicine is in your body and you're working with that, you can do some journaling with that, which brings us to, my next thing that you can do is some discernment journaling. So some prompts that you can use are just asking yourself, where am I tolerating noise because I fear the silence, or I feel the put in the blank, and allow your truth to speak for itself. Unfiltered, unadulterated, let it just spew out what areas of your life where you are allowing noise. Now, another thing that we can use as a tool is sound bath. Using music, whether it's a sound bath, whether it's a song, whether it's just a frequency that is played, is really good. Thinking like some binaural beats, whether it is 528 hertz or 369 hertz, where you're able to release that fear and open up your heart. That just helps you retune yourself, so your organs, your bodies remember that. But again, if there are trauma imprints, those hertz may not be right for you. Maybe it's a little bit higher, a little bit lower, or somewhere in between. It's about finding, again, what makes us feel whole. Now, nature is a great way to retune ourselves. It is a natural resonance, if you will. So getting barefoot, walking on the grass, touching a tree, listening to the wind, communicating with the wind. Nature is always in harmony. So let her teach you and your body what coming home actually feels like and looks like. So if you at all were, you got a nugget from this, please make sure you share this. Leave me a comment on what resonated with you. I want you to know that you were never broken. You are not broken. You are not worthless. You are worthy. You just might be a little bit out of tune. But that's okay, because your nervous system knows where home is, knows the frequency, and remembers. Your soul remembers as well. Your original song is still inside of you. It is still being played. And harmony is not a place that you arrive at. It's the frequency that you practice. It's the frequency that is inside you. And so you have a choice to make. Every moment, every second, you can return to your own natural frequency. The choice is yours. This is a practice. So this is not something that I expect people to master overnight. Like I said, understanding, even just having the framework, the awareness is what comes first. And that's typically the hardest part. So if you have the awareness, then adding in the practices as they make sense will be super easy for you. So this week, don't just seek peace. Please don't perform peace. Remember the resonance of peace. Come home to yourself. Choose sounds that feel like truth to you. Do what vibrates to you, what sets your soul on fire. And as always, attune to things in your life that make you feel whole. Until next time, I look forward to being with you. Thank you so much for being here with me on this episode. Again, if this resonated with you or if you feel like somebody else could benefit from this message, feel free to share. I'll see you next week. Bye.